My name is Julia, and I never imagined my life would spiral into such a storm of confusion and emotional betrayal. I was a wife, a mother, a homemaker with simple routines and quieter dreams. My husband Carl was a good man on paper, a provider respected in the community, attentive to the bills and the lawn and the Sunday roast. But love, real connection, that had evaporated years ago. We married when I was 25. At first, everything felt like the promise of a future too perfect to break. But slowly, Carl buried himself in work. The conversations faded. The laughter stopped. The physical intimacy became mechanical, then non-existent. We shared a bed but not hearts. Our house was full of quiet. And then there was Mason. My son from a previous relationship, now 22, had returned home after college. Mason wasn't Carl's biological child, but Carl had helped raise him since he was 8. Their relationship was respectful, distant. They were never close. But Mason and we had always been close. Until everything changed. When Mason moved back, it was meant to be temporary. He needed time to find a job, get his life sorted. I was thrilled. I missed him. He had grown into a thoughtful, kind, handsome young man. He was funny and intuitive in ways Carl never had been. He noticed when I was sad. He asked about my day. I should have known boundaries would blur. The first sign came late one night when I couldn't sleep. Carl was away on a work trip as usual. I went downstairs and found Mason in the kitchen sipping tea and reading. We talked for hours. About nothing. About everything. And in that silence, something stirred in me, something warm and dangerous. He made me laugh. He made me feel seen. And after so many years of being invisible, I was hungry for that. I remember the storm that night. Rain pounded the windows like fate knocking at the door. I had fallen asleep in bed wearing a robe, exhausted from a long day. Around 2 a.m. I stirred. I felt a presence. I thought it was Carl. Mason. I whispered, eyes adjusting. He stood by the door, shirtless, his face unreadable. I heard you calling out. You okay? I hadn't realized I'd been dreaming. I nodded, confused. I didn't mean to wake you. Just, you sounded upset. He stepped in, sat on the edge of the bed. I should have told him to leave. Instead I said, stay. Just for a minute. The minute turned into hours. We talked, whispered. I cried. He held my hand. Then his arms were around me. Then, no words. No plan. Just heat and ache and the overwhelming pull of 1,000 suppressed emotions. We crossed the line. I woke with guilt woven into every muscle. Mason was gone from the room, but the sheets, the scent, the ache in my chest, all of it screamed what we'd done. I stayed in the shower until my skin went numb. I scrubbed and scrubbed but couldn't clean the shame. When I finally came downstairs, Mason was at the table, quiet. He looked up at me like a child caught stealing. We didn't speak of it. Not that day. Not the next. But the silence between us was deafening. Carl returned 3 days later. He noticed my distance but chalked it up to a bad week. You need to relax, he said, handing me tea. He didn't know the truth sat just across the room. Mason avoided me and I avoided him. But our eyes always found each other. Then one night Carl got drunk and fell asleep on the couch. I was cleaning up when Mason came in looking lost. We can't go on like this, I said. He nodded. But I can't forget that night. Can you? I shook my head. Tears fell. He stepped forward, touched my cheek. I should have pulled away. I didn't. We kissed again. Softer this time. More dangerous. We didn't mean to continue. But once the dam broke, we drowned in it. Every stolen glance became a touch. Every touch became a secret. And then I missed my period. I told no one. I couldn't be pregnant. Not now. Not like this. But I was. Again. The doctor confirmed it. I was 6 weeks along. Carl thought it was a miracle. I thought we couldn't have any more kids, he said, overjoyed. I couldn't speak. Mason knew. He didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He just whispered, "What are we going to do?" It was eating me alive. One night, unable to hold it any longer, I told Carl everything. He didn't yell. He didn't scream. He just walked out of the house. He hasn't been back since. Mason packed his things and left the next day. I was alone, pregnant, and drowning in a sea of consequences. Months passed. The world kept turning. I kept breathing. People whispered. Some stayed away. Others offered sympathy they didn't understand. I gave birth to a boy. He looks like Mason. Sometimes I catch myself hoping Carl will return, that he'll forgive me, that time will soften what I broke. But I know some wounds never heal. Mason writes letters. He's in therapy. He says he's trying to rebuild his life. He wants to be part of his son's life. I don't know what the future holds. But I know what the past cost. Nearly a year after everything fell apart, Carl came back. I opened the door to find him standing there, older somehow. Sadder. He looked past me into the house. Is it true? I nodded. He didn't step in. I don't hate you, he said. But I don't know how to be here anymore. I nodded again. Words couldn't fix what silence had broken. He left without another word. I look at myself differently now. I used to see a wife, a mother, a woman doing her best. Now I see the cracks, the choices, the loneliness, the hunger I didn't recognize until it consumed me. But I also see someone trying to heal. My son, Mason's son, smiles at me with innocence. He doesn't know the story yet. One day he might. I'll tell it honestly, without excuses. Because the truth is a wound, but it's also the beginning of healing. This is not a story about love. This is a story about crossing lines you can never uncross. About emotional hunger so deep it makes you betray the people you swore to protect. It's about guilt, confusion, and the cost of desire. And it's about the fragile threads of redemption that remain, even after everything falls apart. If this story made you feel something, please like, comment, and subscribe. Would you forgive someone like Julia? Could you? Let us know your thoughts below.